And we are live. Welcome to another Toehold MMA podcast. I'm your host, Dave. Ryan couldn't make it tonight. He's having some technical difficulties with Comcast, so I'm doing this pod a little solo right now. Gonna be short, gonna be quick. We'll just go down the card quickly. I'll tell you who I like, who I don't like, and we'll go from there. First fight of the night, we got Gustavo Lopez, 8,000, versus Anthony Burkak at 8,200. I like Burkak in this fight. The only thing that scares me a little bit is he's taking his fight on short notice. He's only, it's only been a few days. If I'm just worried about his cardio. If he was at a full training camp, he would probably be a huge favorite. And I think his wrestling will pay off. He'll win. I think this is a decent fight to target for GPP. I think he'll probably end in a finish. But 8,200 right in the mid range. It's a nice fight to target. Next fight, you got Max Griffin versus Ramaz Brahima. Max Griffin's 8,600, Brahima 7,700. Max Griffin, I'm probably just going to fade overall for the most part. He's not a high volume striker. He doesn't, he gets some takedowns, but still, I just think this is going to be, he's just not going to score well overall, especially at 8,600. Brahima is someone I'm going to probably target a little bit. At 7,700, he's got pretty decent inside to distant lines at plus 290. The fight as a whole is plus 125 to go inside of distance, so it's not one of the better odds. One of the worst ones on the fight or on the card. I would probably fade Max. Brahima, I'll be definitely having in some lineups for cash or for GPP. But not a fight I'm really overly excited for. Next fight, you got Darren Elkins, 8,700 versus Eduardo Garagori. Again, Garagori is a very low level UFC fighter. Elkins is better than him everywhere. The only issue I have with Elkins is his age. He's lost 4 straight. A little nervous about that. And I'm, everywhere this fight takes place, Elkins should be the better fighter. I don't see Elkins really getting a finish. Elkins is a great cash play if you're playing cash. If you could fit him in, 8,700 is not a bad price. Garagori overall, I'm just going to fade. I'm not even going to have him in a lineup. Next fight, we got Alexander Romanov, 9,000 versus Marcos Rogério de Lima, 7,200. Romanov's probably my favorite play on the slate, 9,000. He has the best inside the distance line at 75 or minus 350. He's a great wrestler. He's got all the skills to do well, especially for DraftKings. He averages 140 points in DraftKings. Marcos Ariel De Lima is just a power puncher. He does have a good knockdown rate. That's the only thing that worries me a little bit if he can land something. But Romanov's more than likely he's not going to take a chance. He's going to take De Lima down and more than likely get a submission victory. Maybe could ground and pound him out, but De Lima's been submitted before, so that's more than likely what's going to happen in this fight. But have Romanov in all your lines, cash, GPP. He's going to be super highly owned. So the only thing I could say if you're playing GPP and you don't want to eat that chalk, you could do De Lima just to counteract that because he does have that puncher's chance. He does have some knockouts, and he could be the other way. But still, if I'm playing 20 lines, maybe have 1 or 2 with De Lima just in case he pulls that off. But either way, I'm going to be overweight on Romanov. Next fight, Trevin Giles, 8,000, Bevon Lewis. In this fight, I like Bevon Lewis slightly. It's, again, not a fight that I'm overly excited about. Lewis has shown, had a tough run in the UFC. He fought, Uriah Hall in his first fight. And then he fought, I think it was Darren Stewart in his next fight. So he's fought some tough guys right off the bat. Where Trevin Giles, nearly died going to the ring in his last fight. Who knows how his heart's going because I heard it stopped when he on his way to the ring. And he just, I don't know, I'm not overly impressed with him. I think he's, a little, can't think of the word right now, but he's just not someone who I'm very high on. I think he's overrated. That's the word I was looking for. Overall, I think this is a fight you can just basically fade altogether. If you want, if anything, I would say maybe throw a little Bevon Lewis in there because I think he might win. But either way, I would say just don't even bother with this fight for the most part, whether it's cash, GPP, anything. I just think it's not going to score well in a victory. Next fight, you got Giga Chikadze, 9,300 versus Jamie Simons. I think there's not much to say about this. Giga is a way better fighter than him. Giga looked very good in his last fight. I think Giga's finally going to get his first UFC knockout, probably first or second round. 9,300. You could play him in cash, you could play him in GPP. I think this is, I don't see how he loses this fight unless it's some fluke knockout or submission, but I honestly don't see it. So, Giga's a great play in DraftKings this week. Just he's the highest price guy. That's the only thing that, limits him from playing him. Next fight, you got Claudia Gadelha, 7,900, and Zion Yan at 8,300. This is a fight, I think, for GPP. It could be fight you want to target one way or another. Because if Claudia wins, she's going to get a lot of takedowns and, ground and pound, advances, transitions, possibly even get a finish on the mat because Yana's not very good when she's getting taken down. So, Claudia does have upside. She actually does throw at a pretty decent clip, about almost 3.5 strikes. But Zizan Yan, throws over 100 significant strikes in the last couple of fights. She averages 6.72 significant strikes per minute. And that's, very high, in the GPP that, without even getting any takedowns, that's going to score very well. At 8,300, definitely will pay off. She'll probably get into the 90s with, decision victory. Maybe you could get close to 100 because Claudia does get, eat a lot of strikes. She eats almost 4.5 strikes. So this could play out well for your Jan. I like her to win. If Claudia would just wrestle and go back to her roots, I think she wins the fight easily. But ever since she's moved camps, she hasn't. She's gotten off her wrestling ways. So I just can't really trust her anymore. So yeah, I like Jan in this fight. Next fight, another fight you might probably want to target for GPPs. Ian Heinisch, 7,800. Brandon Allen, 8,400. Both of these guys are very good on the mat. They're both very slick. They only attempt a little bit of takedowns, but once they do, they're both good, whether they're on their back, on top, especially Heinisch. He knows how to get out of a lot of tricky situations. He's fought some of the better wrestlers so far. He definitely, has had a tough road in the UFC of all the opponents he's fought. He's done fairly well. And where Brandon Allen has, he's done well in the UFC, but he's also had very bad moments and against lower level competition. I like Heinisch to win this fight. He's another fighter I will, probably have a good amount of for GPPs. Brandon Allen does have his upside. He does have very good, submission skills. It's not a bad, GPP play, but I think, it doesn't probably get a finish, but because of all the grappling advances, reversals, I have a feeling this could be a sneaky fight that ends up scoring well overall. So it's kind of like a decent fight to target. Next fight up, you got Ronnie Barcelos, 9,100 versus Khalid Taha, 7,100. I like Ronnie Barcelos a lot in this fight. I think he's the better overall fighter on the feet, on the mat. Wherever this fight takes place, he should have the advantage. The only thing that scares me a little bit is Taha does finish all of his fights by knockout or by finish for the most part. He's got 8 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He has an 85% finish rate. But I just don't know how. I mean, unless he lands that big bomb, which he could. He knocked out Boston Salmon, a fight or two ago. But Ronnie Barcelo is just so much better. He's slick on the feet. He throws it with heat. He's wrestling. He's a former, Brazilian national wrestler, and he's got a good jiu-jitsu. I believe he's a black belt. I just don't see how he loses his fight outside of just taking, one too many punches. But yeah, I think I'll be very overweight on Ronnie. I think he might be a sneaky GPP play because a lot of people will probably either go up to Giga or go down to Romanov. So it's someone in the middle where I think he could pay off just as well. Next fight, you got Andrei Arlovski, 7,300 versus Tanner Boser, 8,900. This isn't a fight I'm going to probably target very heavily. Andrei Arlovski's not a very high volume striker. Typically how he does well is he's quicker than in the heavyweight division, and so he's able to move in and out very quickly. Land a couple strikes, move out, and and just pot shot from outside. Because when he gets too close or gets in the pocket, he can't hang anymore in the pocket. His chin's not that good. He's going to get probably knocked out. Where Tanner Boser, on the other hand, he's used to be a decision machine until his last two fights, where he's landed knockout blows, and he'll be the quicker fighter in his fight. So that's what's going to be an issue for Arlovsky, because he finally won't be the quicker fighter in this fight. And I just don't. I mean, Boser throws at a good clip, but also Arlovsky does a good job of not absorbing a lot of strikes. So I think it will negate the rate that Boser throws at, and I don't think Arlovsky is going to get clipped. And I just think this is a fight where Boser probably is going to win, and I just don't see him getting that knockout. I think 8,900 just too expensive for him, and I think this is a fight that's if you want to put Boser in a cash play, you can use him for GPP. He does have the upside to get that finish. I just don't see it. And Andrei Arlovsky you could use him for cash if you need to get down that low, because it's probably going to go to decision. But overall, I won't have much of him in GPP. I just don't see much upside with Arlovsky. He hasn't gotten a finish in, I think, like 6 years, something like that. So he's a fighter I'm probably in GPP just going to fade overall. Then you got the main event of the night. You got Thiago Santos, 8,800 versus Glover Teixeira, 7,400. Should be a very, very good fight. Thiago Santos loves throwing his leg kicks, whether it's to the legs, up high, to the body. He throws them everywhere, and he throws them with vicious intent. The only thing that gets a little bit worrisome, you don't know how he's going to be, is that he had one major knee surgery on one leg, and then he also had some other work done on his other knee. So, and he hasn't fought since he's fought John Jones. So I just don't know how he's going to come off that. Is he still going to throw those leg kicks? Because if he does, and he doesn't have any problems with them, he still throws them with the same veracity and the same intent, then he's probably going to win this fight. Because I don't think Glover is going to be able to take that punishment to the legs or to the body, unless Glover can catch one of those kicks and take him down. For Glover, he wants to use his technical boxing, jab him up, keep him on the outside, and then take it to the later rounds, avoid Thiago early. Thiago will probably slow down after round 2, going into round 3 and on, even though he did last all 5 with John Jones, but that John Jones doesn't push a crazy high pace, where I think Glover is going to try to get him against the cage, trip him down, and control him on the neck. And I think once Glover gets Santos down, it's going to be a long fight for Santos. Glover's slick on the mat. He'll more than likely will ground and pound him out or get a submission victory. I slightly lean Santos. I've been going back and forth on this fight all week. I don't think he should be such big of a betting favorite. He's minus 250 almost, and Glover's plus 200. I think it should be a lot closer than that. I think Santos wins, and he's not a bad play. I think he could get a finish of Glover. Glover's pretty hard to finish, but he's been finished. Where I think for DraftKings, though, I think I'll probably be slightly more overweight on Glover. I might take more of a lesser stance on Santos, but I haven't really got a gauge on how people are going to target this, who's going to be the higher owned of the two. It's definitely going to be a higher owned fight because it's a 5-round main event. I don't really think you want to stack it this week at all, but yeah, that's kind of my quick thoughts. Broke it down quickly in 15 minutes. Again, fights you're going to want to target on this card. Again, the main event, Santos and Glover. You're going to probably want to target Ronnie Barcelos and Cleet Taha, Ian Heinisch and Brandon Allen, Claudia Gadelia, Zion Yan, and probably that. Yeah, that's about it, I would say, for main fights you want to target for GPP. Again, if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. I want to grow the channel as much as I can. And, hit the bell notification so that when I go live. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get down Dana White Contender Series fights this week. I was covering soccer at DFI, and I just didn't have enough time to tape the fights to feel confident to put out a video. But I should be back on this Tuesday I'll probably either do it Monday night or, Tuesday during my lunch break. Get a breakdown of Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Again, if you guys have questions, hit me up on it's called Twitter. You can DM me if you have any questions. If you haven't done so, subscribe to Daily Fantasy Insider. If you haven't never subscribed there before, use promo code DAVEFRIEND, 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 and you'll get free 30-day read-only subscription to all of the content at Daily Fantasy Insider. They've been killing it in a lot of sports lately. Make sure to hop on. And if you haven't seen, I also, like I said earlier, I help out with the soccer content at Daily Fantasy Insider, so make sure to check out that content as well. Maybe I'll start doing some, small soccer podcasts just to break down the slates that I'll be doing, since I'll be putting in the research. But it all depends on if you guys want to see that content. Thank you guys again, and hopefully you all have green screens this week.